Hello, everyone. Today we're going to learn about three types of conditional sentences: the zero conditional, the first conditional, and the second conditional. Let's get started. If it rains, I will take my umbrella. That's a conditional. Now, let's see this very simple example. We can ask to ourselves, what happens if it rains? And the consequence is the ground gets wet. Now, let's study the zero conditionals. We use the zero conditionals to talk about facts, scientific truth, and routines. Remember that conditionals always have two sentences: the if clause that represents the condition and the main clause that represents the result. For zero conditionals, the structure is if past present simple and present simple, respectively. Now let's have some examples. If you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. If you press the button, the light turns red. Let's practice pronunciation. And please try to repeat after me. Heat, boils, turns. Notice the S sound on the last two verbs. Now let's talk about the first conditionals. We use the first conditionals to talk about possible situations in the future. That means that we have to use the auxiliary will that represents the future in English. And the structure is if plus the simple present plus the auxiliary will and the base form of the main verb. Now let's see these examples. If I save enough money, I will buy a new video game. If I study for the test, I will get a better grade. Now it's time for studying second conditionals. We use the second conditionals to talk about impossible, imaginary, or unlikely situations. And the structure for second conditionals is if plus the simple past tense followed by the auxiliary verb would and the base form of the main verb. Here we have some examples. If I could fly, I would visit every country. If we live near the beach, we would go swimming every weekend. So far, we have been talking about conditional sentences. Now it's time to associate concepts and examples. Zero conditionals represent facts. If water freezes, it becomes ice. First conditionals represent a possible future. If I study, I will pass. And second conditionals represent imaginary situations. If I had wings, I would fly. Now it's time to check your understanding. If water reaches 100 degrees, oh, that's great, very good job. If I study tonight, I pass the exam. Good. That is the correct answer. If I were invisible, I. Incredible. You have understood everything.